Hello, this is William and Suhaili from Magnus Miniatures. Thank you for joining us today. Today we are going to be painting the King of Ruins from Creaturecaster. This is one of my final projects before I actually moved back to Jakarta. So if some of you didn't know, I recently just moved from Orlando to Jakarta. It's a lot of things that's happening in my life, but I want to make sure that I uploaded this content or video for all of you so that you can enjoy as well the joy of Warhammer, the joy of building this figurine in these hard times. This channel is what it's all about. It's for you to spend your hobby finding some new inspiration, aspirations, and paint some new models or some models that are in your cabinets that are sitting there not being painted. Alright, so I really want to make this model as Nurgle-ish as possibly as humanly be, right? After all, he is the King of Ruins himself. So the theory of the skin is I want to make it as puking, as nasty, as greenish, sort of brownish color look on this body. While in this weapon, I will add some neon pink to contrast it with the slimy, disgusting, really looking model. So nothing really fancy here. I really just want to show you what color of paints that I'm using. So I'm basically using Gamma Green and some brown, I think yellow brown on my skin tone. I'm using all Flaho type colors. I'm not using any of the airbrush just because I really love the high pigment color that they have on the bottle. I'm using the airbrush kind of color dilutes the color even more, so I don't really like how thin and consistent they are. People may think differently, but that's the preference I'm usually using with my airbrush. Alright, so here is one of my most favorite fluorescent color of all times. It's the Createx color itself. You can get them in Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Joanne, or any depth stores you wanted. A little bit of a tip is that the colors are really transparent. You want to make sure that before you apply the airbrush color of this color, you want to have really bright backgrounds. And just in this model, I have a white background so that you can give them some shallow tint coats, so that you can build up the color, make those bright neon looking color in the model. Alright, so one of the most important thing that people kind of forgot after the airbrush is that this misconception of after the airbrush, you're kind of done for it. And no, you're not. You want to make sure that you create this really darkness, deep recess inside your model, and that's why you want to wash the model. One big tip before you start washing is obviously thin the paints. I can't say it more enough, thin the paints. So one of the techniques that I'm using here is that I want to make sure that I target where I'm washing, and as I go forward to the model, you see here I actually go towards the belly, and so I started with the deep recessed part inside the body because I want to make sure that that part is darker than the other. So I use a little thicker consistency inside the body, where as I'm going towards the body where it actually goes brighter, I actually thin it down with water, and I actually use multiple different colors. In this case I use Draconov Nightshade and follow up with Agrax Earthshade, and the end later on top up with some yellow washes and some washes that I made myself. So the key part of this task is you want to make sure that you keep thinning on the new layer so that you don't actually see what kind of water or what kind of color wash you're using, but you just want to see sort of the highlight of the color. You use Agrax Earthshade so your model looks a little muddy. You use Draconov Nightshade so your model looks a little darkish with shadow, kind of creepy looking in a bit. But the goal is to make them just there, just enough so you have shadow that actually highlights your model, elevates your model even more.
I'm finna jump for the shit. All top when I speak, all cap with the speech till they caught up in the rapture. I'm so out of line with the phrase game. Let's take a break, been a long day. Hit your line, what you fall through with the light sticks. Maybe help me spark the ideas. We got nowhere else to go, it's only up from there. I've been on my own, just running through the field. Say vivid for the ears, I know that's how they like it. Yeah, I fantasize, tell me that it's real when it's all said and done. I said it how I feel it, I let them hear the fear of a passive aggressive. Angry black man with a passion, steady grip while I shoot to the stars with a full clip. Trying line with a loose leaf, then I proofread till I lose sleep. Couldn't handle the truth when you're bed with the right. Love at first sight shit, art over hype shit. Need a sound bite for the time capsule. Press play, they pause time for a bit. Smitten, I admit it, couldn't kick it. I'm in love with the fine print. Scribble type of shit they wouldn't find behind it. Why the suspicious behind the eyelid. Tell it reckless with the clauses. Careful with the cost me. Need this shit forever, but I never ever stop until they put me in the coffin or they off me. Fuck niggas quick to auction, they false print. Always read the shit with a caution. Hold it 10 toes down for the dogs, you can see the paw print. Searching for the answers in the bottom of the last strip of the handle. The beginning of the candle. Doing shit to myself, give me fears when I'm looking in the mirror. I'm seeing somebody else, yeah. Mi corazón is on my sleep shoulder. The wrist thing and they rose gold and right glow from me. I couldn't pinpoint on the globe, so I wanted to go from it. Just know that I don't fit in, but I wanna feel everything, yeah, 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 everything, yeah.
Alright, so the last part of this project is essentially how do you make this slobbery, gooey looking slimy drool that is all over in his face, all over in his body. So the step is pretty simple. You might want to bring up a candle. Sorry for the focus, I gotta do this really fast. What you're gonna do is find a really small candle, and what I suggest is just get a part from a sprue that is kind of clear, and make sure you don't do that. You want to make sure that you keep a little distance off your candle, because if you put it a little too close, yep, that's what's gonna happen. So this is one of the things you shouldn't do. So this is the actual way to do it. You want to put it a little bit higher so that the candle doesn't actually burn the sprue. So also you want to make sure that you have another metal holder on the other side. It was freaking hot when I did it. So make sure you don't follow this step, but essentially you want to kind of pull up the transparent sprue so that as you're pulling it, you can create this really just slimy, jelly, saliva looking that looks just like a drool. And that's about it. That's just as simple as it goes. And if you go forward, all I did in this process is essentially just cut them into small pieces and then just glue them together. One of the best glue that I've been using is Boss Made glue. It's really sticky and it's really thick, so make sure you get some thick, sticky, super gluey so that you can create this effect as well too. And so for the last effect for this tool is that I am using the Flaho water effects that I got from, I think, Hobby Lobby. But essentially they're like a paste. They're not essentially like the UV glue or the wooden glue or the white glue that I've been using to kind of stick some other paste, but they're really transparent when they dried up. I just want to create this sense of just really transparent, sticky, gooey on their mouth, because just having the saliva drool does make the whole mouth kind of watery and all that kind of effect. So I added a bunch of other things such as Flaho water effects and also some gloss varnish from the GW on all the parts, especially where the intestines are and all that effect. So I hope you enjoy my tutorial for the day. I really enjoy making this video. I know my client really loves it as well too. It looks really nasty, it looks really Nurglish, and it's really disgusting. And that's what Nurgle is all about. And this is truly what makes me really happy. And I hope you guys enjoy the show as well too. And as always, if you like the video, like and subscribe to the video, because I put a lot of effort in putting this content for you. Cheers guys, thanks.